Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. With your host, Jamie.
And Mark.
I pointed at him like you can see.
I know, right? I think we do a lot. It's really difficult to get, we're, 23 episodes in?
Something like that.
Nobody's counting. But it's really difficult to kind of get into that mindset of nobody's looking at you when you're talking. So we do hand movements and gestures and like head nods towards each other, and we realize, oh yeah, you can't hear my head shake.
You can't see me.
And Jamie has like looked at me and like shaken her head over me asking her a question. It's like, you can't do that.
Not here.
You don't have enough rocks in your head to rattle around with it when you do shake it. So
yeah. Oh, okay.
What? I mean, you got brain in there.
Oh, okay.
See?
That one went right over. God damn.
How many rocks? Not enough rock.
All right, so we're not here to talk about rocks. We're here to talk about the promotion The Rock used to work for.
I was going to say, what
WWE.
Depends on what era we're talking about.
Yeah. We're talking about WWE. And right now, let's talk about Monday Night Raw.
Let's talk about Raw. Let's talk about SmackDown. No, wait, no.
That's Friday.
Who used to sing that?
Toby Keith. I want to talk about me. You want to talk about
I want to talk about me.
I want to talk about number one. Oh, my, me, my.
Me.
Me.
Kevin Owens opens up WWE Raw and comes down and cuts a promo talking about the
Speaking about
me.
KO show. Yeah.
KO show, who was revealed last, I think, SmackDown, to be the fifth member of the Men's War Games faction that would be going against Roman Reigns and the Blood Club.
Yep.
We'll
go with that.
He came out and just basically said, how fitting that I would join up with the Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre, who are all out, very tough individuals, fighty McFight face. And of course, Brawling Brutes came out, Drew McIntyre came out, and lo and behold, the Judgment Day came out. Who wasn't who they called out.
He did say, though, that he was not concerned about Sammy being on the other side. Sammy's doing his own thing, and that's cool. But that he was definitely going after Roman Reigns. Yeah,
that, him and Sammy are practically best friends, and even though he hasn't really, seen eye to eye with him, if he gets in his way, he'll find out, that meme, that dude, and fuck around, and the other side's find out. The more you fuck around, the more you find out.
Exactly.
That's basically what he said. He's like, I'm not going for Sammy, but I'm going for Roman. But Sammy, if you get in my way, I'm gonna roll you over like a boulder and shit on you.
Right.
Which is understandable. I mean, it's a business. You're trying to win championships. You're trying to advance. If Jade Koth got in my way of what my job was, I'd kick him in the nuts. It is what it is. Nothing
part of the
personal.
work.
It's a business.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they cut a little promo on how good they're going to be. Beat the Bloodline. And the Judgment Day came out. And the reason I keep kind of bringing that up is I don't know why. The Judgment Day came out to kind of talk about Kevin Owens and the Brawling Brutes. And then Finn Balor just challenged AJ Styles to a match.
On Saturday?
Yeah. But why did he
I thought that was already established.
Regardless, he just interrupted the Brawling Brutes and Kevin Owens just to say, I accept your match, or I challenge you, whatever it is. Just out of left field. I didn't really. It felt like it was
the
just
whole
interjected into the little what was going on. But I didn't like it.
They've been doing that a lot with Seth Rollins, where Seth Rollins comes out and then basically the Judgment Day ends up doing something, and he just kind of walks out, and it's just like, why did we do that here?
At least the Judgment Day comes. I know you're talking about when they came out and then the OC came out. But at least it was relatable to what was happening that evening.
Yeah, this felt just for no reason.
Brutes, Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens talking about the match they're going to have with the Bloodline at SummerSlam, and then Judgment Day comes out so that Finn Balor can talk about the challenge of him and AJ Styles.
Right, and then they can fight the Brawling Brutes.
It was like taking two storylines and forcing them to cross over. What made them come out to interrupt them just so they could talk about it? And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, I guess we'll have a match.
Right.
I just don't like how they... I know a lot of people bitch about AEW storytelling and how they have 2 to 3 week stories. I feel like this was just forcing two storylines to mesh to create a larger story.
Very much so.
Then later on, the OC comes out in the same during the match, and
it's just it's weird. And then the odd thing here was I think WWE had to give like the OC a reason to come out because they announced that Mia Yim was no longer Mia Yim.
No.
She was Michin.
Michin, which was like a nickname that her
mom called her in Korean, which means crazy. So that happened, and then the next day, she's Mia Yim again.
Somebody got on Twitter and was like, "Oh, nobody likes them changing her name," but we've talked about it. I don't understand why anybody had a problem with her changing her name to Michin. I mean, she gets to keep the rights to her legal name. She doesn't have to worry about that. That means any product or thing that she comes out with, she doesn't have to worry about copyright infringement with WWE. She can all pocket it to her own name. It's the smartest thing you can do in wrestling right now.
Yeah, and WWE is huge about changing people's name. That's why a lot of people that come up from NXT get their name changed.
Right, because they don't want to have to sit there and have a royalties battle with you 10 years down the road trying to sell, Candice LeRae t-shirts.
Right.
It's going to be rough. Like
Raquel Rodriguez is one of those people that was brought up to NXT recently that ended up with a different last name.
Yep. A lot of people from NXT.
She was Raquel Gonzalez, and that's her real last name, so they gutted that and switched it out. And they do that with a lot of people.
Right.
If they've been in former promotions and then come to WWE, NXT, whether it's Raw, whatever.
Unless they
like change that up. So I don't know. I mean, it was close sounding and it made sense, but they scrapped that immediately.
Yeah.
And then this match was just odd. There was one point where Dominic just like ran away from Sheamus, and that's when the OC came out.
He ran to the back, and right before he got to the gorilla position, the OC like walked out and they both acted like they were terrified that the OC were coming out. Yeah, they chased him back to the ring, and I don't know. It was they ended up getting the win, or I'm sorry, Sheamus ended up getting the broad kick on Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up getting the win. And then Kevin Owens hit a stunner on Finn Balor, who was talking shit in the ring.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what was the purpose of this. There was a lot of stuff going on. Again, it felt like they just took storylines and threw them together.
This is
together and just tried to help.
Oh, you little Finn. You got a little Finn there. It's a second week in a row where it's just like not really a big fan of it because it feels like just nonsense leading up to. I mean, what's the next pay-per-view? Isn't that's WrestleMania? After that?
Oh, no. God, no.
No, they have one in between.
But I know day one was supposed to happen January 1st, but they ended up nixing
They nixed that, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the next one is. But
I don't know what they're doing. They're going into this pay-per-view with okay storylines that they've kind of thrown together real quick. But
I mean, I know we touched on like people changing their names, and I don't want to get too far away with it before I bring it up. I finally figured out what Scripps looks like. He looks like, because if you didn't know, Reggie, who used to be in I think he was on Raw, he used to wrestle for the 24/7 Championship. He was married to Dana Brooke. Kayfabe. They re-debuted him as Scripps. He reminds me of a Scooby-Doo B-rate movie villain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like he looks like the jester from the fair that they're investigating why the fair is shut down or whatever garbage the Scooby-Doo squad.
What was that whole wasn't it like Willow that Jeff Hardy did?
Yes.
That's what that reminds me of more I think about it.
Oh my God, yeah, I could see that.
Looking like a tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, actually, the flips were good. Well, like I watched some of the match back in NXT and it was interesting. And then he had like this move in between where he would like do a crazy flip move and then he would like write his name or something in script.
Well, he's a former Cirque du Soleil performer.
Yeah, it really shows. But it's sad that like they didn't do anything with him like that, at least that I know of in WWE.
I know he performed a little bit with like his super flippy moves.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't like a real prominent guy on Raw or SmackDown.
Right.
I also found out, and I mean this is the internet, so take it with a grain of salt. There was a WWE stalker that used to go to the Performance Center, got arrested, ended up getting shot in the stomach by the police because he was being so ridiculous. But apparently, this character Scripps is supposed to be loosely based on that guy.
Oh, because he's the one that's been like calling in and
right. And this guy used to do that. He'd call in. There's video of him standing at the front doors of the Performance Center, and I mean. Guy's definitely not. There's something not right with the guy that was the legitimate stalker.
Mm-hmm.
he's been in court and all this other stuff. So hopefully he finds whatever help he needs. Obviously, not trying to make fun of anybody.
Oh, sure.
With that, any types of issues.
Just
like that,
interesting that they would even play on that.
Yeah, especially WWE, who's somebody that kind of keeps matters like that a little bit behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I mean, if
interesting.
You're listening to podcasts about wrestling that aren't official podcasts of wrestling, you're more than likely an individual that kind of looks behind the fourth wall. So, to not even, I've never even heard about this, and I think it happened in 2018, 2019. So it was recent. It was like really recent.
Oh wow, that's really weird.
And it's weird. They even got video of the when he was arrested. He chased at an officer, and the officer tried. He's yelled, and finally had to draw his weapon and
wow,
shot him in the belly.
unfortunate.
He survived, obviously, but enough about that. But it's just really weird. They based that off a character, or into a character.
It reminds me of the Domino's guy, whatever his mascot is. Yeah, you ever hear the story behind that? I don't know if it's real. I watched like some like
I have.
I don't know, documentary. Well, it's like it was apparently loosely based off of like one of their employees that went like batshit
and shot a bunch of people.
Something like that. I don't know if he shot a bunch of people, but
a lot of people think that that's also a basis for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh,
shooting, yeah. But we are getting on a whole different. That's a whole different podcast.
I could talk more about conspiracies right now than this Raw. I don't know. Just wasn't a fan. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think maybe it could be because we had such high expectations with Triple H being back and in charge. And then it's just like, it's okay. AEW has just been so good. And if you're not into AEW, I mean, sorry. But
the honeymoon period of Triple H taking over is done.
Oh, it's done for sure.
It is. I'm not sure what direction they're going. It felt like they were going in a really great direction, trying to right the ship of everything that Vince McMahon has kind of gone against. And I don't know if
he's done a lot, and a lot of things I think are
of course,
a lot better.
I'm not shitting on the man's abilities to put the show together.
Right.
He's putting together a show that definitely sells. And I think that's what a lot of people don't remember or don't think of when they're criticizing wrestling is you've got to remember that you have TV producers and stockholders and big hoity-toity white-haired businessmen.
Sure, TV stations.
Are relying on not just you and I to pay attention to a product and then talk about it, whether they do a podcast or buy a t-shirt or whatever. They're trying to get you to come back every single week. They're trying to they're basically, spoon-feeding anybody that will bite that will also buy merch.
Sure.
Like, if it's going to be on TV, you're not going to get the indie wrestling product. You're not going to get the AEW is the closest thing you're going to get to that pure wrestling niche product. Like that's WWE and AEW are products to be sold to individuals.
And they're different products,
and
I don't know.
But Raw, I mean, it was okay.
The next part was just odd. It's Johnny Gargano, and he was talking to Kathy Kelly. And
by the way, Kathy Kelly,
making the rounds.
They must love her on Raw and SmackDown.
Oh man,
using her left, right, and center. I mean,
making the rounds for sure. So she's in the back, and Johnny Gargano talks about how he's going to get a rematch against The Miz because Miz cheated and he used the turnbuckle against him. So The Miz comes out and he says that he can't wrestle because he was doing a TikTok and chopped through a cactus.
Supposedly he was doing a TikTok, which obviously Johnny Gargano would know nothing about because he's not a big enough star. And
clearly
he was, I guess, doing one of those stupid ass TikTok dances, and I guess went to move his hand in an abrupt fashion from one direction to another and ended up chopping through, because he's such a strong man.
Of course.
Chopped through a cactus and had cut his hand, and he said, now, his wounds will heal, but he won't be able to wrestle this week. So he picked a suitable opponent for Johnny Wrestling to go up against.
And mind you, Johnny Wrestling lost his theme song. So we already took one blow. They remixed it.
Girl, or
Rebel Heart.
Rebel Girl.
That was weird. And then he has to face Omos.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what you were hoping it wasn't.
It was awful.
It made Johnny Gargano look horrible.
It really did. I mean, for a little bit he had the upper hand on Omos, but I mean he got him down on the ground, kicked him a couple times, like kind of made you think like, oh Christ, he's got an actual chance, and then Omos just destroyed this poor man.
Mm-hmm.
He chokeslammed him.
Yep.
I mean everything he could, and I mean Johnny Gargano is not a tall or big individual.
No.
And Omos is what, 7 something.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm looking at a picture right now, and Johnny Gargano is his nose would like go into Omos's belly button. Like that's how tall. My daughter is like, she's taller than he is by like scale.
Right.
That's insane. Like they absolutely like you. There's
it's like you fighting our 7-year-old.
Yeah, there's no way that I don't know. Our 7-year-old's pretty tough.
Yeah.
But
almost 7-year-old.
There's no way that he was going to win this match, and it just made him look terrible.
But it was unfortunate. It could have been a good opportunity to be like, wow, Johnny Gargano beat Omos.
Yeah, and I mean, Omos is, coming off that loss against Braun Strowman again, and just sucked the wind right out of him. Like, he comes out and he's like, great, he's a big dude, but this is the only match where you're like, oh, he's definitely winning this one.
Absolutely. And he did.
And
Miz was just laughing on the outside the whole time, and it was just like, I don't know. I personally, when I watch something that's like super embarrassing that involves somebody else,
yeah,
it just makes you like not want to watch it because you feel like super uncomfortable and like embarrassed.
Oh, yeah.
And like that's how I felt here. Miz is laughing. They're just like making fun of Johnny Gargano, and I'm like, this is just sad.
Well, hopefully this kind of develops into something a little bit better for maybe War Games, SummerSlam, or maybe even beyond that.
I don't know. But we did get a big announcement next that Austin Theory would be taking on Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins
For
War
Games, SummerSlam War Games?
Yeah, for the United States Championship.
I believe this is a great opportunity to really like put a good, not that I want to call it a mid-card title match.
Because it's definitely not. This is great. This I'm excited about.
Honest to God, just a term. But WWE is doing this right, though. They know that they don't want to move the tag or the world title off of anybody in the bloodline.
Right.
They know they don't want to move that off of them, so they are taking the opportunity of, okay, if those are locked in, those aren't going anywhere. We'll put whatever matches together for that. They're not going anywhere. Now we can focus on the United States title and the Intercontinental title, and they're doing that great with the title or the Intercontinental title tournament. And then now they're putting the United States title in a pay-per-view and like a really, I'm really excited about this.
I am too. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then what they ended up doing was they had an interview via satellite with Corey Graves and Seth Rollins. Right. And Seth actually said that it was his idea to have this match.
Well, of course he's going to take credit for it.
Of course.
He's a revolutionary.
He did say, I'm like the Goonies. I never say die.
Oh my God. This is going to get interesting over the next couple of years when people our generation, start seeing the references of wrestlers and that from our generation.
Right.
Like, the Goonies, and our kids are going to be like, "What the fuck is a Goonie?"
See, I took my kid to see the Goonies, so
I've never seen the Goonies.
You've never seen it?
No, we've been over.
Oh my God, yeah, I took our daughter. We have this like local theater, which is really cool in this like small town we live in. And I took her to see it. You definitely should watch that.
Well, we've tried this theory because I also have never seen what's the vampire one? Lost Boys.
That one didn't go over well.
And then we watched it, and you're like, "Yeah, wasn't that great?" And I went, "Yeah, it's a movie."
I guess as like a 30-year-old male,
yeah,
maybe it didn't like ride as hard as like a 10-year-old little girl, and you're like, "Whoa."
Yeah, I didn't really have aspirations to be a vampire.
Wow. I mean, I didn't either until I saw that.
I wanted to be a vampire more after I saw What We Do in the Shadows than it was The Lost Boys.
Completely understandable, actually. I'm going to agree with you on that one.
I want that garden.
The vulva garden?
The vulva garden. Please, oh my God.
So Seth said something very controversial, which is fun. He said, why don't you pick up your cell phone, call Cody Rhodes, and ask him how his rehab is going?
Dustin Rhodes did not take kindly
He did not like that at all.
Sent him the most ultimate diss in all of 2022.
What's that, the middle finger
emoji. He said, "Hey," at Seth Rollins, and then it was just the middle finger. Wow.
Damn, Dustin. You get him.
Dustin fucking Runnels. Good to see he's apparently going in for surgery. I don't know what for.
Oh, it stinks.
It's wrestling related, I'm sure. So
Sure.
This next match is interesting.
Mustafa
We've been using
Ali
interesting
versus
a lot, but it could just
Austin
be
Theory.
translated as boring.
Okay, hear me out. Like you said, there's a lot of factors in here, and this isn't necessarily my job to write these matches and things like this, but are they just mad at Mustafa Ali?
It's
is it because he makes the jokes on Twitter and stuff? Like,
I think it's
what is it?
I think Vince McMahon, when he heard about Ali talking trash about his contract and wanting out, I'm sure Vinnie Mac went, well, fuck that guy. We're just not going to put him on TV. We'll just have him sit at home and become irrelevant. Well, now Triple H is in charge.
Like
and
Wardlow.
Triple H is like, hey, you're still an asshole. You're going to get buried every week.
You're relevant, but guess what? Guess why?
Unless they're trying to build him up much like they did to Theory. Which, to be honest with you, if we're talking about the build-up with Theory, I mean, they did get us pretty good there. Like, they really it felt like they pulled the rug out from underneath Theory, and now this build-up they're starting to give to him to where he's a more aggressive guy.
He said he's not the same guy anymore.
Right. I feel like it is a transition into a more experienced wrestler, because he's been on Raw, SmackDown, whatever he's been on for quite a little bit.
Just too bad it had to be Mustafa Ali that had to get squashed here.
Yeah, Mustafa Ali's just been getting the rough end of the stick. He's been going out with, broken ribs or whatever he's got going, and then just this entire match, he just got thrown around.
It was bad.
It didn't really even make Theory look good either, because the only way he's going to get a win is by going up against an injured Ali,
injured person, right?
And it didn't make either man look good.
No.
So I'm not really too sure what they're doing here, but
this was just a setup, because afterwards Lashley was on the Titantron, and he said he was coming out for Theory, so it was just a setup for
after
this.
The win, he pins Ali, and then like as his music like halfway through it cuts. And have you noticed everybody in wrestling is cut the music? Like AEW is huge with it. WWE's getting
cut
that way.
My music.
Cut my music. Cut the music. Cut your music. Like it's just been
such a heel thing.
But yeah,
Theory hit Lashley with a steel chair, and he chases Theory backstage. Theory takes off. Bobby Lashley comes around the corner, sees Mustafa Ali, and I think Theory kind of pushed Mustafa Ali off.
Theory picked up. They
kind
of started scrapping for a minute, and then Lashley came in, and Ali took the advantage and threw Ali into Lashley.
Yeah, Theory took the advantage.
Yeah.
And then he just took off, and then it was just Lashley attacking Ali.
Oh, yeah.
Again, why?
Beat the living hell out of the poor guy backstage.
Like, beat him while he's fucking down here.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad.
Mustafa Ali didn't even make it to the back. He was just chilling on a chair. Like
the third time this month he's had his ass whooped by Lashley. Like
strange.
When he went to challenge Seth Rollins last week, he got smashed in the face by Lashley. Lashley went out and ruined the whole match, and ended up causing Seth Rollins to. Or no, that was when Austin Theory cashed in. It's been just a terrible night for every single guy. Even Bobby Lashley's not looking too great.
No.
But they'll have a three-way match, and I mean, I'm kind of excited for it.
Yeah.
As much as I've just sat there and said all of this has sucked.
The leading up to it, but the actual one, like physicality of the three of them being in the ring at the same time is going to be really fun.
From all of the
different styles.
The matches have been really good between everybody. Like,
you got to give them that.
Good, bad, or indifferent for the storyline. They've been impressive matches.
Well, by far the most impressive match of the night was Alpha Academy with Elias and Riddle.
Oh yeah, this match.
Elias and Riddle.
Show.
Yeah, it was. That thing is, whatever. They're kind of doing a little storyline with them.
Yep.
But they didn't play off the storyline. They just played off them being a tag team here, and it was really, really, really good.
It really was. Like, the match was a solid match. Of course, Alpha Academy is phenomenal.
They are. But there was just no gimmicks played on this one. It was just pure sports entertainment.
Throwing each other around. Elias and Riddle,
they look great together.
They look great together. Yeah, it was their chemistry was real good. They didn't have a lot of tag team moves together, but they flowed really well.
Right.
Their styles complemented each other very well.
I feel like Riddle was kind of being thrown around for a while to figure out what he needed to do, or just to kind of spice things up. And now all of a sudden he kind of has a spot with Elias, and it's just really solid tag team match.
I don't know where they're going with it, but I like it.
I like it too.
Yep.
Anything lately with the Alpha Academy has been great, because now Otis is actually picking up wins.
Yeah.
So it's not just Chad Gable and then, Otis is throwing up hot dogs after the 4th of July fest that we had.
Well, unfortunately, this one, Otis and Chad Gable did not get the win.
They did not.
Riddle ended up pinning Chad in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. They got the win, and again,
bro,
they celebrated in the ring together, and they seemed very happy with themselves. So, congrats to them.
Yep.
Maybe we're seeing a budding tag team. I mean, look at Mankind and The Rock.
There you
Rock
go.
and Sock connection. Nobody.
It's not always
thought.
the obvious, person that works out the best.
Right, but this one works. After this, we had a promo in the back between JBL and Baron Corbin. Again, they're back there smoking their cigars, playing their poker.
Playing poker, yep.
But Drew McIntyre shows up. Baron ends up telling him we got a match tonight, which I thought he said next week. I don't know what I'm thinking. And
Drew said something about, you want to come out and we can fight.
And then smacked the hell out of him.
Right.
They had a match up next, and I mean, it was a good match.
There was at one point Drew slapped the absolute shit out of Baron Corbin, and then later Baron opened up his t-shirt, and I think he checked to see if his nipples were still there.
Yeah. He.
It's a pretty good match, though.
Drew's got big like catcher mitt hands.
Yeah,
just
football hands.
Woo, look, that feels like it feels like it hurts. Like it hurts. It looks like it hurts.
It was pretty bad. So I hope Baron was able to retain his nipples.
Yeah, but he did get beat by Drew.
He did.
Ended up getting the win after.
Tozawa got the distraction.
Yep.
No longer Ninja Tozawa.
Yeah,
we're back to blonde-haired.
Yep, dropped the black
fun
outfit.
Tozawa.
He's got red and white trunks with bleach blonde short hair.
Yep.
And acting an absolute fool, which I loved it.
He stole JBL's hat and then ran back through the crowd.
Yeah, well, he jumped on JBL.
It was funny.
And stole his hat. It was good.
It was a good way to just make this match a little bit more interesting. But
it's good to see Tozawa back because he's a really good wrestler.
Again, just another 24/7 dude.
Yep.
They were just like, you're married to Mina, nobody Mina.
Is he really?
No, he was in the storyline with the 24/7.
Oh, that's right, he was.
Yeah, I don't know if his Twitter picture still is, but it was the picture of him and Tamina getting married.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just so good. I thought that was hilarious, but that's also not my wrestling career.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go down as the person that just fights for the 24/7 championship.
I would.
WWE, if you need
AEW, WWE.
Just a random guy that makes I don't know, $100K.
I'm cute.
Can beat up my husband.
Yeah.
Just make sure you give us the Jade Cargill special that you're going to take the whole family. You take the whole family, we'll all travel. Mm-hmm. We're all about it.
Yeah. We'll get a bus.
You can do the whole Luther thing. It's fine.
Just shriek and yell. I think I feel
up top.
I feel like I would be better as Serpentico though.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah. You would be Luther's
You could be
bitch.
Luther.
Okay. So this did end up setting up the SmackDown match between the Usos and Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. The winner of this will get the numbers advantage in the War Games match.
I'm glad you had that written down because I apparently didn't have that written down.
I'm a very good note taker.
Other than knowing that match was happening Friday, I had no idea that had happened.
Okay, so that is why that is happening. There you go. Not only am I informing you, the people, I'm informing my husband.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have realized this. I guess at 85% of wrestling, and Jamie just steers the ship. We were talking about hand signals. She just throws up middle fingers and the glares, and I'm like, nope, I'm saying something wrong. Oh, it was the Roman Reigns.
Yes.
And I go back and I post edit everything so I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
You also got him with the, wrap it up.
Yeah, she does a lot of the
what was that, Dave Chappelle?
Rolls. Yeah.
He's got the button, starts playing the music. So everybody had been really excited and waiting for Bianca, Asuka, and Alexa to come out and announce their fifth member. They kind of set it up like that was going to be what happened here. Bianca and Alexa looked at each other as Bianca announced that the fifth member wouldn't be announced till Friday. Because I think they knew everybody was going to be
Oh my God,
pissed.
everybody was pissed.
Nobody was excited about that at all. I don't know why they're doing that. I also knew...
No, let me...
Is that what you're going with?
I meant to say Becky Lynch.
You're going with Becky Lynch?
I don't know. I haven't figured out which one I'm committing to.
Personally, I was they're in Boston. It's got to be Sasha. And then they're we're waiting till Friday.
Not yet, at least.
I don't know.
I think it's going to be Becky Lynch because of the confrontation between Damage Control, Bianca Belair, and Becky Lynch right after Bianca and Becky's match. I think it's going to be Becky. And they've said that her recovery has been going well. It's either that or it's Charlotte Flair. I do not think Sasha Banks has it in her right now to come back.
Yeah, they are. Charlotte Flair has been promoting a lot on Twitter, just showing a lot of pictures, and she usually seems pretty quiet. So all of a sudden, it seems like maybe she's just trying to build up the speculation or the relevancy of everything. So I don't know, but just like everybody else, we're gonna have to wait until Friday to find out what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But this just brought out another opportunity for Damage Control, and Rhea and Nikki. They all came out, and Bayley just talked a bunch of shit.
I mean, I think at this point we're Team Bayley and Team Bianca.
Of course.
It's
Team Bayley and Team Bianca.
They're obviously the leaders of this. They're feuding, and then their little lackeys are feuding against
everybody else is just there.
Yep.
But Rhea Ripley and Asuka were fighting for the numbers advantage, just like we were talking about the Usos and Drew and Sheamus. This was also a numbers advantage match.
They did not promote this match at all for 3 hours.
They just kept showing like the card at the bottom of the match.
Twice or 2 or 3 times they ended up showing like the match little card in the corner. They never said anything about it. There was no build up for it.
It was the main event though.
It was the main event,
which was great.
I really felt like Raw felt like it was like, and I guess maybe this is what they're trying to go for, but it was like 7 different segments on different shows. Like you could have taken these segments and cut and paste in any portion, in any way, on any show between SmackDown and Raw. Obviously the sets, says Raw and all that, but it felt like that these were literally like, okay, let's start it here. This whole storyline goes, we end that storyline here. Nothing was cross-promoted.
No.
There was no like, oh, this match is coming up. Oh, this match. And this was the only match that I know that was announced for Raw.
Right, yet they never pushed it.
They never pushed it one single time.
Again, being the main event.
Mention every once per hour.
And it was great. I talked about the match before with Alpha Academy, Riddle, and Elias. But this match was just absolutely solid. Really good to see Rhea Ripley back. I don't know. It was just really fun.
2 intense wrestlers, especially
extremely intense. Different styles.
Yep.
But super fun to see them go head to head with each other. By far 2 of the best wrestlers around right now. Not even women. Just really, really talented.
So charismatic. I know Rhea's got like piles and piles of heat.
Strong too.
And then Asuka, like she doesn't even. I don't know if the insane talking is like part of her gimmick or she doesn't really speak English very well. But whatever it is, it works. Because she comes out there and she gets the crowd hyped. She does.
She's from a different country.
I know she's from a different country. I just don't know if that's like just her gimmick or if she can speak fluent English and she's just like playing off the crazy Japanese girl or what it is. But whatever she's doing when she comes out, she just hypes it up so much. By like doing everything that she does. She's loud. There's not a simple like talking with her.
Right.
It is just the most like in your face,
super energetic.
So good.
And it seems like that's how she's always been.
Oh yeah.
In her wrestling and the people that she's been in tag teams with and things like that, just super intense, and all of that just came out here.
I love her. I wish they would do more with her.
This was a good start. Like it really is starting to go that way, and the whole Io Sky and Asuka has been really fun too. I'm looking forward to that one match happening down the road too. But the women's division in WWE, wow.
Oh, they're doing great.
So doing intense,
really and
so
especially with
good.
The roster they have between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, who's just sitting on the sidelines. Both of them obviously waiting to be brought back in for 2 different reasons. Becky's got the separated shoulder.
Right.
Charlotte ended up getting married to Andrade Alidolo.
Right.
Where the fuck knows he's at.
Yep. Taking a break from wrestling for a little bit. Well, at least Charlotte.
At least AEW. You're talking about Andrade.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's just a lot of people who aren't even there, and it's still just so unbelievably good.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And also, they tried pushing a new nickname for Rhea Ripley, the Eradicator.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's really good.
But Rhea, who is very, very strong, I have a name. I have it on my
strong.
Yeah, I have it on my notes. She's very strong. I think she ended up doing like they rolled over, and she ended up doing like a deadlift German suplex that was just. Oh my god! I thought Asuka's head was going to be imploded.
There was not 1 second where I just didn't have my mouth on the floor, and I was just like, "Holy shit!"
Oh yeah.
It's hard to write notes sometimes because you're like, "Wow, that was just so solid." I didn't want to look away from it. Dynamite was that this week for me.
Yep.
I was like, oh God, I'm supposed to be doing something. Like, just get so sucked into the story. My God, I can't even believe the stuff we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, let's talk about what's going to be happening on SmackDown this upcoming week.
We forgot to say, Rhea Ripley ended up getting the win over Asuka.
Oh yes, I'm so sorry.
The advantage at War Games.
They did not want that.
No,
they did not want the numbers advantage.
It was a DQ or a DQ. I'm so sorry. It was a distraction win again.
Yep.
WWE loves them distraction wins.
Yes, they do. All right, so the lineup for SmackDown this week, so far at least, is Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi taking on Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. We have Santos Escobar versus Butch for the SmackDown World Cup Tournament semifinals.
Mouthful.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot. It's actually the WWE SmackDown World Cup Tournament semifinals.
Good Lord.
Also, within those semifinals is Ricochet versus Braun Strowman. Rest in peace, Ricochet.
Right.
And Drew McIntyre and Sheamus will be taking on the Usos for the entry advantage at War Games.
Much like Rhea Ripley and
correct.
Asuka
Except we're getting a tag team match this time.
Yes. Well, they definitely have teams that are more focused on both of them having a tag team or a faction.
Sure.
I feel like the women's is...
I mean, they could have done that, but we've already seen it 154 times.
Right. We also have the only confirmed matches we have so far for SummerSlam War Games. We have the men's War Games, which is going to be the Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, the Usos, and the honorary Us, Sami Zayn, will be taking on the Brawling Brutes.
Sami Uso
will be taking on the Brawling Brutes, which consists of Sheamus, Butch, I almost said Butch Cassidy, Butch and Ridge Holland, as well as Drew McIntyre and our favorite Canadian, Kevin Owens.
Yes.
We also have the women's War Game match, which is going to find Damage Control of Io Sky and Dakota Kai with Bayley, Rhea Ripley, and Nikki Cross. I'm having a hard time remembering all these names.
You are doing fantastic.
And we also have going up against the team of Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, as well as Mia Yim, Minchin, who knows, as well as a fifth unannounced individual, which we've heard.
And if you have your suspicions, because we won't hear it until tomorrow night, we'll be posting this tomorrow morning, Friday.
So you'll hear it tonight.
Yeah, if you hear this and you have your suspicions as to who the fifth member
Let us know who it is.
Love to know what you think at CAW Wrestling Pod on Twitter.
You never said what you would.
I did say I thought maybe it was going to be Sasha Banks because it was Boston.
That's right.
I don't know if that's a good idea, but I feel like bringing them in together is kind of like really weird.
Right.
Unless you want to just hit the nail on the head. Like, let me tell you about what time.
I know, right? It's boss time.
We didn't even go around it.
We also have Ronda Rousey will be taking on Shotzi for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship.
Correct.
And then we also have Rollins versus Theory versus Lashley for the United States Championship.
Awesome.
And if I heard right, I might have, I might not. I'm only human. We also have Finn Balor taking on AJ Styles.
That is correct.
I didn't see that on the page that I looked at, so I wanted to make sure.
I think maybe you had stepped away, but they had said it previously. They had said that the week before.
Gotcha. Okay.
So maybe it was more of like a real passing, we're fighting on Saturday and you didn't really catch it kind of thing.
Understandable.
But yes, was already announced. So great. That's what we got so far.
That'll do it for WWE for at least Raw. We got SmackDown. By the time you hear this, it'll be tonight. But we also have
AEW Dynamite. And we started off the night with Lord William Regal
coming out to address the crowd, I guess, about Mr. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, your new AEW World Champion.
Yeah. He had some splaining to do.
But he was not going to do any splaining because he said nobody wants to do anything in this pissant town. AEW shit all over Chicago.
Chicago kind of shit on themselves in a little bit, but...
Yeah, that's another conversation.
They did. Jade Cargill definitely shit hard on Chicago, but... long story short, MJF was not there, but will be there next Wednesday on Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, William Regal even asked, "Where are we?"
I might have to make a correction. It's Friday he will be doing.
Oh, okay, you got me there. But he did stop at one point and he said, "Where are we?" Regal, like trying to insinuate like he didn't know where they were.
Oh yeah, that's right. Acting like I mean, they really
classic heel.
I know, but regardless, they were really throwing shade towards Chicago. Like,
yeah, they really were.
Like, this place is shit.
So, Moxley ended up coming out, though. He didn't start his vacation yet.
He was very upset.
And he was livid. I mean, do you blame him after all he's been through with William Regal?
Oh, yeah, with Blackpool and everything else.
Quite the double cross. So he was gonna fuck him up.
He was gonna beat the shit out of him.
Bryan Danielson slid in with a beanie. I didn't even recognize him at first. He slid in and he was like, hey, this guy's old and frail. Like, you can't. He's got 2 brain bleeds. Like, you can't be beating this guy up.
I feel like there's going to be a double cross with Daniel.
I was just, the whole time I was watching Bryan, I was like, when's he going to hit him? I was
waiting for it.
When's he going to hit him?
I was waiting for it.
And
his loyalties are definitely with Regal.
100. Pro Wrestling Tees actually put out a brand new jersey for Claudio. The
really?
BCC one and everything. It was like right after all this. And everybody was like, is BCC a thing anymore?
I don't think BCC is going anywhere, but I definitely think William Regal's not a part of it anymore.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the direction that it's going. But, wow. What a way to start off the night, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Next, you had the infamous purple hat, Jake Hager, and Orange Cassidy for the AEW All-Atlantic Championship.
Orange Cassidy defending that thing like every time they have a TV show.
That's great. But that's what the TNT title used to be.
Yeah, but it's just like every week they're defending it over something else, and I don't know.
It's kind of giving an opportunity. I like it because it's giving an opportunity just for like random people like Jake Hager
who hasn't
to get a match
since who knows when.
All he's done is gotten that purple hat.
I think the last time he wrestled was War Games or when he wrestled Wardlow. Other than that, I can't think of when.
Not a whole lot, except for when the JAS go up against whatever faction. But Hager had him at the beginning. He really had a good grip on him.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody does with Orange Cassidy.
But once Jake's hat came off, that was it.
That was his demise.
I think the magic lays within it.
Well, apparently not, because he got that hat knocked off and then got rolled up for the pin.
That's what I mean. I think the luck was in the hat.
But he had to get up. If he didn't have that hat, he wouldn't have lost though. Because the hat got knocked off of him, he went to get it. And Orange Cassidy took the opportunity, hit him with the orange punch.
He did. He got distracted.
That's what I mean.
He wanted the hat on more than he wanted to get the 1, 2, 3.
Which is not a good thing to do in wrestling. Like, you're trying to get wins, not hats.
Right.
Merchandise is merchandise. You're supposed to sell hats, not get hats.
I mean, that was a cheap purple bucket hat too.
No, I don't know if it was cheap. Chris Jericho bought that bucket hat. Nobody's even gonna bat an eye at that Jake Hager is wearing.
Daniel Garcia's gift.
Yeah, his hand-me-downs.
Also, what's going on with Daniel Garcia?
I haven't seen him on TV in a hot minute.
He was there.
Was he? I didn't even notice him.
That's exactly my point.
Well, they do. Tony Khan's always teasing that ROH weekly TV show. Maybe they're just saving him in reserve for ROH. I don't know.
With him. But Orange Cassidy got the orange punch.
Yep,
and the win.
Shortly after, QT Marshall and the Factory came out.
Because they've been on everything lately, but I enjoy it.
They went to confront the Best Friends, and QT Marshall had Sheamus syndrome and his mic cut out. And I thought it was...
That had to be purposeful.
I thought it was something where, like, really, guys, we're going to mess up another mic, and then the lights went out.
And I was like, oh, Danhausen, like, this makes sense.
Last week, Danhausen came out in a more evil fashion and kind of beat the living hell out of
I thought this was a good chance because he has, like, this rivalry with QT Marshall, the son Marshall, because he gave him the tombstone on the steel steps. Right. So that's kind of like what changed Danhausen. Right. So I was thinking it was totally that. And then I saw Julia Hart and I shit.
Oh, yeah.
House of Black was back with a new theme song.
By Dead Body.
Yep.
If you don't listen to Dead Body, go on Spotify and search Dead Body. They are really good.
We just picked up their album.
On vinyl.
Yep. Perfectly well done. And then there you go.
Pick it up on vinyl.
I know.
Sorry. I feel like a snob every time I say that, but I really just enjoy the round discs.
And it's cool to see everything so blown up and be able to read everything. The pictures were dope. It was really cool.
Another Colin special.
Yep, another Colin Young special.
Yep,
thank you.
The Young Brothers.
And then the lights turned back on, and there was Brody King, Malachi Black, and Buddy Murphy.
You almost said Buddy Holly, didn't you?
No.
I almost said Buddy Holly twice talking about him.
I had to make sure that was his correct name over in AEW because they do that.
Yeah.
See, no, it's Buddy Matthews. See, I did say the wrong name.
It's Buddy Murphy.
No, it's Buddy Matthews. He was Murphy in WWE when he was tag team with Seth Rollins.
That's why there's two people here. See, another reason.
See, I did it. This just gets confusing, but yeah, Buddy Matthews.
Right.
Malachi Black.
Brody motherfucking King.
And Brody motherfucking King were there. Brody looking good.
Oh, yeah.
Dapper and handsome. Very nice.
That gnarly, I can't remember what it is. I think it's No, it wasn't Death Valley Driver. It was nasty. It was
they wrecked everybody
of sorts, and
it was the Dante's Inferno.
That's right. Thank you, Dante's
onto
Inferno.
The ramp, and it was just
nasty,
spine tingling.
House of Black is back. I am. Malachi asked for all of the House of Black members to rise. I stood up.
Yep.
In my underwear next to my bed. I 100% surrender myself to the House of Black.
100%.
Take me.
Love it. Totally into it.
Take me.
And
big meaty men.
What better way to follow this up than the Eliminator Tournament finale with Ricky Starks and Ethan Page. Two just money talents here.
This went exactly how you said it was going to go.
Oh, I really did call this, and I'm so happy. Now, Ricky came out very heavily bandaged. And I think, you had to give him this underdog sense because Ethan just wrecked him. I mean, there was a really good spear that Ricky hit. He was going for a tope suicide on Stokely. Ethan Page pulled him out of the way. Stokely ended up getting ejected from it. Yep. But from there, Page just absolutely wrecked him. He hit this huge avalanche suplex. Ricky was hurting really bad.
Well, Ricky came out all bandaged up. He's
very badly, yeah.
2 matches last week, one after the other, day after day. First one was Lance Archer, who was a big dude.
Yeah, and got beat up by him.
Injured him the week or 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
Then wrestled him, started out in the back, got the living shit kicked out of him before he beat him with loafers on, which I know that we did not bring up last week. He
was wearing the loafers?
With black loafers on. And then the next day had to fight Brian Cage, former tag team partner.
Yep, at the pre-show.
It literally looks like something that Ricky would wear in Fallout as a power armor.
They tore the house down on that pre-show.
Got the shit kicked out
and
of him.
And then, 3 days later, had this match?
Yep.
And there was one, real quick, before we end this, there was one unfucking believable spot by Ethan Page. Ricky Starks was in the corner, and Ethan Page, rocked him right in the mouth.
Yep.
And
there was a lot of stiff heads.
Yeah, these two did not hold back. But Ricky Starks ended up falling in the corner, and Ethan picked him up off the ground and then power slammed him.
Oh, yeah.
In one, solid move. Ethan
really
Page has been looking so good, and unfortunately, not for me or Ricky. Ricky Starks did end up picking up the win, but it just sold how well Ethan Page just absolutely annihilates these matches.
Oh, yeah,
how strong he is, his character, his persona. He's an all-around huge talent. So glad he moved to the United States and is more of a full-time opportunity now. Holy shit.
It took 3 spears for him for Ricky to put him down.
It was unbelievable. I got chills. It was so good.
A couple minutes later, hit 2 consecutive, got the pin, and Ricky Starks will be taking on MJF during Winter is Coming. I don't know the exact date.
December 14th.
That's why you're here. I love you. December 14th, he will have a shot at the AEW World title.
Against MJF.
I'm stoked for it. Do I think he's going to win? Not a chance.
No, but this is just a push. And this is cool because now we got, and Ethan's been around for a little bit, but we've got Ricky Starks, we've got MJF. These guys have been around for a while.
So we had Jade Cargill, apparently was beefing with Bow Wow, little Bow Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if
no, it's Bow Wow.
Is it Bow Wow?
He's a grown-ass man now.
Showed up at a meet and greet of his in Miami.
Yep.
And there was a confrontation. I don't know what they're doing with this. I really don't know what they're doing with this. Why are they having the women's TBS champion feuding with a pop star?
Well, as far as I know, he's been actually training wrestling wise.
Wonderful.
So maybe
he a fighter.
I don't know. At least we would get a man versus a woman finally.
I just don't
know.
But
2 green stars? That'd be weird.
I just don't know what we're doing with this.
Are we supposed to be excited about Bow Wow?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm not understanding. Honest to God, and no disrespect, I didn't realize he was a relevant celebrity.
Yeah, still. I honestly didn't realize he was still making music either. Like, I mean, I good knew he was for him. Music,
but I didn't think he was like, why? I don't know.
I don't know. But it was like, oh, wow, we have backstage content. And it was like, well, yeah, this was pre-recorded. She got in his face. They got kicked out, whatever. But eventually Jade basically talked about how she wanted to have a celebration because she finally got her TBS championship back. Yep. No help to any, from anybody else but Red Velvet, who was back, by the way, looking good.
Yep.
And thank God she's been gone for a while. Poor girl. Right. She's a really good wrestler, so that's fantastic. But
unfortunately, that means you got to make room. So
yep. So they did.
Kiera Hogan gets the axe.
Mark Sterling said, "You're out."
Not fired from AEW, fired from the baddies.
Yep.
No longer needs her services. Which okay, I'm over the baddies thing.
Oh, I've been over the baddies thing, but
I think I'm getting to the
point where we're going.
I'm over Jade. No, I'm not over Jade, but I think they need to do something more than
big with her.
The baddest bitch apparently, but she only fights mid-carders and I mean, I'm not saying Jamie Hayter or Chris Statlander or Nyla Rose or mid-carders, but I feel like, again, we've talked about it, her 43-0, I think she's up to.
Yeah.
Majority of them are dark stars, and you've got probably a good quarter to 3/4 of solid matches to just filler matches.
Oh, for sure, but nobody needs to know that when they talk about her being, 42, 43-0.
Right.
Whatever. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'd like to talk about match number 2, Death Triangle versus the Elite. And, with there being potentially 7 matches, which I feel like that's going to happen because they end in California, which is where the Young Bucks are from.
Right.
Which would be weird not to go to it, but you never know. I've been wondering, how are they going to make this interesting? Can't just have the same match every Dynamite.
Right.
And the same dynamic every time. And wow, they really did it here. My notes are all over the place because, again, I had one of those moments where it was just move after just fantastic move, but so many jabs here. And
oh yeah,
let's talk about it.
I loved it. Absolutely love it.
First of all, the Elite come out to very mixed chants.
Again, this is when the intensity of the Chicago crowd and the AEW marks within the Chicago crowd that know about the brawl out,
right?
Yada yada. So it started getting very warm in there.
Absolutely, and there were shitload of "fuck CM Punk" chants again, and Matt was just like
eating it up.
Oh, he's just like pretty much telling everybody to just yell it.
On Being the Elite, their YouTube show, they have Brandon Cutler recording, pretty much everything they do. Wrestling wise, and they have you see them throwing their arms up, hyping up the crowd that's chanting "fuck CM Punk," and
they actually cut like the rest of the music and the whole video just to stop at that point, and they made such a big deal about it.
Yeah,
and this whole entire match was just a fucking poke fun at CM Punk.
Matt did.
That's the only reason they got dressed tonight.
Matt did a mockery of the buckshot lariat that CM Punk fucked up and dropped on his ass the minute he flipped over the ropes.
He does the classic, oh!
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of CM Punk or fuck CM Punk chants. And then the cherry on top, Kenny Omega. I don't even remember who he hit it on. I was so flabbergasted. Hits a go to sleep.
Oh, you didn't even mention that Kenny bit Pac.
Oh yeah, Kenny ended up biting Pac in the same spot that Ace Steel supposedly bit Kenny Omega in the scrum.
Yep, and then immediately afterwards, Kenny goes to do something. Pac moves out of the way, pushes him up against the ropes, and does like the fastest German suplex. Like that thing snapped so hard, disgusting. And Kenny looked dead. They ended up doing a BTE trigger on Pac's nose not too long after that as well.
Really focusing on
that broken nose.
Broken nose from the last match.
Yeah, like a nose guard and stuff.
Yeah,
but
he's got the Cody Rhodes.
Yes, he does.
Somebody else, I think the NBA had it not too long ago.
Yeah, but Kevin Durant, I think. Kenny hit the go to sleep. And speaking of that, I'd like to tell you about a little tweet Mr. Omega made to
Very
Kenta, and he says, "Thank you, Kenta. Always a good brother. Bullet Club for life. Am I right?"
And if you don't know, Kenta is the individual that came up with the go to sleep. and is also the individual that CM Punk stole that move from.
Who CM Punk was supposed to fight when Forbidden Door went down.
Apparently Kenta wanted nothing to do with it. Kenta is not very happy about it.
Full circle.
Well, I mean, the whole idea was, he invented it, and CM Punk made it popular.
Right.
And, I mean, Kenta kind of a little bit sour about it. Understandable. I mean, but this is wrestling.
Yep. So sometimes you never know, but.
Great match, though. Really, just an absolute stellar match. I don't know
it was.
if you could expect anything less from these two tag
teams. We didn't mention that the hammer does come back in play here. So Matt Jackson actually grabs that Timekeeper's hammer, goes to hit.
Actually, they had their own hammer, I believe.
Well, he went to use his hammer on Pac, and Penta grabbed it from him, and Penta had his own hammer already.
Right. That's right.
And hit him over the head, and Death Triangle are now up 2-0.
Yeah.
2-0.
Interesting dynamic going in, especially the Elite being not the underdog, I guess, even though
sure,
Death Triangle is the champion.
It's good.
I think that they're doing this because everybody expects the Elite to just show up and rule ass and beat everybody and win, and they're really trying to push forward. Like, no, they're wrestlers just like everybody else, and they're going to be losing, So it's great. I love it.
The next match will be on the next Dynamite, and we'll see what interesting things they come up with to do next, because wow, this is just like a story to be told.
Oh yeah.
So interesting. There's the story with obviously the Elite just hyping up, just wow, we're fuck CM Punk, here we are, we're back.
Right.
And then the whole hammer thing with Pac and Death Triangle and what's all going with that. There's like two solid storylines going right now, and they're intertwining, telling its own story. I can't wait to see how this pans out.
Now,
unbelievable.
I gotta ask the question though.
Yeah.
And it's only because it's relevant right now with all of the references, not only that the Elite made, that AEW has made. Do you think that there's any possible way that this backstage brawl is a work?
I said from the beginning that I thought it was, and then over time I was like, I don't know, this seems legit, and I'm right back to where I started. How interesting would this be? It comes down to basically, it feels like hockey. It comes down to Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
We're in California. We're on home turf.
3-3. It doesn't. The past 6
games
don't matter at all.
Of course, it comes down
to this last game.
Important win, and the Elite lose because CM Punk comes out and distracts everybody.
I like it. I could see them doing it.
Everybody would be like, "Holy shit!" That's the ultimate work.
I've always said I never understood why they don't get behind the idea that the fourth wall is broken.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that I can go on Twitter and I can find out, or I can look at Kenny Omega talking to Kenta over Twitter about something that CM Punk has something to do with. You know what I mean? Like, I can go on there and you can manipulate that, because you can sit down with enough people and be like, okay, we're going to bring back this former women's champion, but we're not going to tell anyone. We're going to tell person A, B, C, D, and F, and it's the only people that need to know, short of the people in the office that are running the paperwork. You run it like that to where no one knows. Exactly that. You've got Kenny Omega, you've got the Young Bucks, Ace Steel, CM Punk, and Tony Khan. They're all sitting in the room. Kayfabe or not,
and Larry. Those are the only ones that know.
And Ace Steel's wife, and whether it was a legitimate issue, you sit down and be like, all right, guys, we need to figure this out. You said these things. Let's do this.
Because we've heard nothing from CM Punk, by the way.
Right.
Only CM Punk's party.
Right. And they're all hiding behind the legality thing of it. But now we've got
But now we know that that's
TV.
bullshit,
we've
because
got the Elite referencing it. We have the announcers referencing it. When Kenny Omega bit Pac, Taz mentioned something, or it might have been Shivani.
It was Taz.
Of, almost like a dog bite.
Yeah, and he said sometimes you gotta bite in the fight.
It's just the similar, or the coincidences are there's too much.
Absolutely. It feels like it could absolutely happen.
And I would love that. I would love to see a company take advantage of the idea that people think that they know what's going on. We do this podcast twice a week, and we think we know what's going on. We do this podcast because we feel like we have a good grip on the idea of what is going on in wrestling.
Right.
But I would love to sit here and eat my words and be entertained for an evening. Just be like, it's when William Regal.
I was going to say it was William Regal all over again. I was like, holy shit, they got me.
No one. I don't think I ever heard a single, and anybody who says that they said something that they thought that was going to happen in the end is a fucking liar. No one saw that coming, that he was going to slide them brass.
It reminded me of Revolution when Wardlow couldn't find the Dynamite Diamond ring. It was like reminiscent of that all over again, but the reverse. You were just like, so oh my God, Wardlow's not going to help him here.
So good.
But then slid it over to CM Punk, who ended up winning with it.
It reminds me of when The Rock ended up siding with the Authority back in like the 90s.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those like, it's The Rock, hell yeah. What is he doing?
Now I'm not supposed to like him, but like you can't help it.
Like, it's just so good. It's so good.
It was such a good storyline then, but
next match we had was
before we talk about the actual match itself, I want to take a moment to talk about something interesting that they've been addressing slightly, but finally goes through. Okay, so basically Thunder Rosa has been out for, I don't even know, a long time at this point.
Too long.
She was the AEW Women's Champion. She was injured. She's been out for a while. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast. Tony Khan had a conversation with Thunder Rosa, and she came to an agreement, she said, for the women of AEW, that she was going to relinquish her championship, and that officially, Renee announced this, made Jamie Hayter the AEW Women's Champion. And I'm getting like choked up. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And instantly I'm like, that fucking blows for Toni Storm, who had it and lost it. But they actually later on in the night mentioned that they were going to make it proactive because Thunder Rosa relinquished it, and Toni Storm was going to go down in the history books as the champion. And I think that was a really good call on their end, because they could have just let that go, but that was the right thing to do. She does come out on Rampage and talk, which I'm assuming is about that. But good call. Really happy. This is such a fucking huge push for Jamie Hayter. Who
everybody's gotten behind her in the past
months ago. Just nobody like knew about her. I knew she was in NXT UK, but there just wasn't a lot talking about her. And then she just, man, it just took a few weeks for me to fall in love with her, because at first I was just like, what is this? I've talked about it before. She had like the Sebastian Bach hair. It was weird.
I didn't like her first either.
I just absolutely love her. She's got the look. She's got the personality. She's really embodying a good champion. Tony, do this one right.
Right.
Do this one right.
Right.
Let's get a good reign for a champion. And there was like a weird 3-way tag match as far as like 3 women's tag team coming together for a match that they didn't originally announce. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was just to show off how good Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter were.
I don't know.
Because that's what happened.
Yeah, it felt pointless.
It was good. It was super fast paced. There was some great wrestlers.
Match, but I felt like
love Willow, love Sky Blue.
I felt like it was Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker was the focus on everything, and they wrestled primarily Anna Jay and Ty Mello. Mm-hmm. And then there was just Willow and Sky Blue were there for flavor.
Yep.
And I don't really know why we did this. I would have much rather seen a number one contender match for the women's title. I would have rather seen a little bit more storyline pushed with Sky Blue or Willow or somebody other than who literally just won the title.
Sure. Or Toni Storm coming out and confronting her and asking her for a glorified, rematch. He deserves that.
Yeah, it just felt like this was, I don't know if they were just trying to showcase more women on the show in one match.
Yeah, kind of felt like that
for your buck, but I feel like it kind of fell flat because there was no purpose to this match. Just random 3, and I mean I feel that way about almost all 3-way tag matches.
Yeah,
it just doesn't feel like there's a good point of it unless it's for a number one contendership of a tag title, which the women's division in AEW doesn't have that.
Right.
Actually, there is no AEW, or there's no women's tag team titles right now. In NXT, I think is the only one that has tag titles right now for women, which is sad.
I got to agree with you there. Something that was interesting next up was we cut to the back again with Lexi Nair, and Top Flight and FTR are both standing there, which instantly, hello, hype, super hype.
Right.
Love all four of them. Basically, they were just praising each other. Dax just spoke heavily about how much he just loved Top Flight. He was happy Darius was back, has been keeping an eye on them, and is super excited about their, what's going to happen with them. But Darius kind of turned to Dax and was like, we really appreciate this, but that's not why we're here.
Yep.
We're here to challenge you for the ROH Tag Team Championship.
Yeah. Which I'm excited for on Rampage. So Friday night, we will watch Top Flight taking on FTR for their ROH Tag Team Champions, which I think is the first time they've defended them since they defended them at Final Battle?
That's the one that's coming up.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of whatever one they wrestled the Briscoes.
Briscoes, yep. So that hasn't really been a thing, but now all of a sudden they're challenging for that. So I thought that was really fun.
That's exciting. They also announced that Anthony Henry will be taking on
Darby Allin.
Darby Allin, thank you. Oh my God, dead air.
Yeah.
Nobody likes dead air. But then shortly after that, we had the main event. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. We had a segment with the Acclaimed.
Because why not?
Because they're the Acclaimed, and it's the Acclaimed.
Everyone loves the Acclaimed. Yeah, it is.
It's every Wednesday.
Acclaimed every Wednesday.
And this was...
So it was a cheap pop.
Oh yeah, 100%. Just a time filler. They came out. Billy Ass ended up taking the bandages off his hands, and
it's a Thanksgiving miracle. He's all better.
And even though they were interrupted by Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh, they basically told him to kick rocks.
There was a TNA sucks chant.
There was a TNA sucks chant. Jeff Jarrett came out and talk shit on the Titantron. Like I said, Billy Ass basically said, "Shut the fuck up." Took his bandages off, and we saw the first scissor me daddy ass.
He said scissor me daddy ass, which is confusing because he's daddy ass.
Talking
but that's
about
okay.
Himself in third person.
Yeah.
I do that.
Yeah, The Rock says,
The Rocks.
Now, thank you. As we roll on into what is now
the main event.
The main event, and boy, did we not disappoint here. We talked about some heavy hits earlier in the night with Ricky Starks and Ethan Page. The main event for the night was Chris Jericho versus Tomohiro Ishii.
Stone Pitbull.
And this, like I said, was heavy hitting. There legitimately was a spot. You know how they do the restaurant quality picture-in-picture. They haven't said that in a while, but they always do that spot. And they do the picture-in-picture, which is cool. A lot of times, there's just like super distracting like commercials. They hit you with some food or something. You just get lost. At any rate, there was an entire commercial segment. So it was probably, like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Where back and forth, Ishii and Jericho just did chop for chop for chop. It
was bad. It was like a slaughterhouse.
It was awful. And Chris Jericho was literally bleeding from the chest.
Split his chest open from chops because they just kept doing the same one over and over and over again. And he kept coming back for more. And I mean, we were watching the picture-in-picture, and I'm like, he is pouring blood. There was blood all over the mat. It was
Mark thought he bladed at one point.
I thought he was bleeding from his head, and then he turned, and I'm like, that's blood coming from his chest.
Yeah, and Ishii was still smacking him so hard after he was bleeding that it cut over to him, and his face was splattered in Chris Jericho's blood.
There was blood everywhere.
From slapping him so hard.
All over the outside of his forearm, on his palm.
Uh-huh.
It was a mess.
Chris Jericho straight spiked Ishii on the apron.
Oh,
and that was like sell of the goddamn year.
If he would have fallen on the ground and been dead, I wouldn't have been surprised.
It was insane.
You've seen like Shawn Michaels sell a Stone Cold Stunner.
Where
he goes up on top of his head. There's that photo of him being like perfectly straight up and down.
Ishii did that.
That's how Ishii looked like on the apron after a pile driver.
Yeah, he pretty much had no neck. Has no neck.
He doesn't have any neck as is, so that's probably the only thing that saved him.
I think it saved his life.
The apron.
But holy crap, there was literally 2 parts here, and Excalibur always says it 2.999. There were 2 parts in this night that were absolutely insane that I thought it was over and done with. One being Chris Jericho hit a code breaker, thought it was it, and then Ishii also hit a code breaker, and I thought that absolutely was it.
I really did. Like, I was the same way. I was convinced that Ishii just hit the move of the night and was pinning Jericho.
I couldn't believe it. It was just such an incredible match.
Jericho kicked out?
Chris Jericho ended up putting the walls of Jericho on Ishii and then turned it into the Lion Tamer.
I was going to say, yeah, you got it. But again, won another Ring of Honor World Championship match.
Yep. Clean. Ishii, by the way, was a former TV champ, so that's what made him eligible for this match.
But he won another world title match.
What a reign
with honor. He's
reign.
It's great. I love it. I love it.
Every time he finishes with somebody else, I'm like, who's next?
I know.
I can't wait to hear who's next. You got to give it to Chris Jericho. Every week he comes out and just absolutely performs.
Oh yeah.
Bandito, just unbelievable. This one here, unbelievable. I'm still waiting for Christopher Daniels.
Well, next week we will find out when, or probably who's he's going to wrestle next, because he will be speaking at Rampage.
Yes.
We're also going to have Tony Storm, like you said, is going to be speaking next week.
Yep.
We have
Hikaru Shida is going to be in action.
Yep. We have the ROH Tag Team Championships between FTR and Top Flight, like we talked about earlier.
Again, Darby Allin and Anthony Henry.
And then we also have
our boys, Butcher and the Blade and Roosh.
Versus the Dark Order, and I believe it's going to be Evil Uno, John Silver, and
Alex Reynolds. Phenomenal. Let's keep all these guys relevant.
We are seeing the end of 10 in the Dark Order.
Yeah. What are they going to do? Have them be friends with Rouge?
I don't know. But you know me, I'm all about 10. Where 10 goes, I go.
Oh, man. Johnny Hungy. We don't even get me started. Johnny Hungy's my boy. And wherever the meat man goes, I follow. Also, Butch and Blade. They're meat men, too.
I am partial for big meaty men myself.
They are the meat men as well. And I think that's going to do
that. That will do it for we have run well into the time that I didn't think we'd ever run into, but that's okay.
And although this is not really like a good holiday to celebrate, I really hope you enjoyed it with your family. We have to take the time to be thankful today. And honestly, I'm really super thankful to all of you that listen. There's just a steady amount of people, even in different countries, that have been listening to us. All of a sudden, we have a bunch of Japanese followers. I don't know what's going on. But this is just phenomenal, and I really appreciate you all for listening to us ramble about our opinions about stuff that may or may not happen. But although I'm giving myself a pat on the back, I was right about Ricky.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I'll have to go back and find that audio file.
Thank you.
But thank you all for listening. I do have one thing to request of everybody. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music. I've been calling it iTunes, which shows you how out of touch I am with music. Do us a favor. Go on each one of your respective apps and give us a 5-star rating. Say something nice.
Please.
Helps. It really does help us get noticed more, and the more interaction we get from people.
The algorithm,
the algorithm helps out. We, obviously follow us at CAW Wrestling Pod for everything we tweet about during Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, and Rampage. We also tell you when we have new episodes, which is usually the beginning and the end of the regular business week. But we're only human. We can sometimes we'll do just one giant show. But thank you for listening.
Yeah, and follow me at A Bacon Party on Twitter.
Follow me at Gunk Dudley. Apparently, if you're Japanese, you should be following me, because I've had like an influx of about 16 Japanese individuals following me, which
super cool.
The more the merrier. I don't care.
Please.
By all means. I don't know how you understand what the hell I'm saying.
I don't either, but
go for it.
Thanks again, and
tell your friends. Thanks for listening.
War Games. Oh wait, that's right. Regal's not there anymore.
No, yeah.